All right, we are on. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm so happy to have all of you here. Um, I just want to thank Marina for hosting. Thank you, Marina from Styles and Smiles. And I see that everybody, well, not everybody, but most of you bought something or at least saw something that you love. So thank you also for that. What I would like to do is talk a little bit about how to thrive in menopause and perimenopause. What I'd like to do is just introduce myself so you know who you're talking to today. I am Dr. Kerri Nevin. I'm a doctor of clinical psychology and a wellness coach certified by the Mayo Clinic. And I've been in private practice with my husband, Paul, for 27 years. And I didn't know that I would become so passionate about the subject of perimenopause and menopause. It kind of snuck up on me. But as soon as I understood what was happening to me, it's sort of like a fire got lit inside of me, and I needed to know as much as I possibly could to help myself feel better because I was really struggling. I was struggling physically, and I was also struggling emotionally. And so I've kind of pivoted in midlife, which I guess is a thing. I think a lot of people do, a lot of women do. So this is the information that I have come to so far. And if we're going to have a question and answer period at the end. So just get ready. And what I'd like to do is, let me mention. So my office is in Bannockburn. I'm right behind Midtown Athletic Club. And our company is called Heartlight Psychological Services. But, when I came across all this menopause stuff, I just thought, I need to find some way to identify myself. And the word the MenoPsychologist just sort of came up into my head. And I thought that is actually perfect. That's exactly what I want to do. So I'm on IG at the MenoPsychologist. I'm also on Facebook. We have a Facebook group as well. And at the end, we'll have a survey. And if you want to be part of this community, provide your email, and then I'll be sending out newsletters and more information and such. So with that, let me first start off with a perimenopause prayer. Full disclosure, I did not write this. This was from AI, but I just thought we need a little bit of levity. So this is a prayer for the sisterhood of sudden heat, chin hairs, and sacred forgetfulness.
No.
I don't know if anybody can relate, but I'm just going to go for it. So, dear divine hormonal mystery, grant me the serenity to accept the chin hairs I cannot see, the courage to pluck the ones I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And between a magnifying mirror and a personal attack. Bless my brain fog, that holy pause between walking into a room and wondering what the hell I came in there for. May I find comfort in knowing that the lost thought was probably overrated anyway. Let the sweat that arrives uninvited at 2 a.m. be a reminder that I am powerful. Like a dormant volcano that occasionally erupts with passion, purpose, and puddles. When my mood swings from I love everyone to why are you breathing so loud? Remind me that I am not crazy. I am just hormonally enhanced. Yes. And finally, as I navigate the shifting tides of this sacred season, may I laugh often, forgive freely, especially myself, and remember that anyone who crosses me while I'm holding tweezers and a hot flash should proceed with caution. Amen. Or a woman. All right. So let me talk with you a little bit about how did I get here. Back in 2011, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition known as Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is an inflammation of the thyroid. You're shaking your head like, yeah, I know what that is. But when I looked back on my life, I realized that I had been sick for a very long time. I had exhaustion so badly that when I was in session, I would have to kind of pinch my thighs so that I could stay awake. I had cystic acne so badly that I was in my doctor's office 6 times in a month for cortisone shots. I had 3 nodules on my thyroid. I had 21 pounds of weight on me. And my mood was absolutely in the toilet. And I was so terribly anxious. In fact, I had anxiety, a panic disorder, from the time I was 12 into my 30s. And it centered around public speaking. So yes, here it is. But so I was at my wit's end. I was on medication and it wasn't doing anything for me. In fact, my doctors told me, you should just not even bother. And I just thought, well, what am I supposed to do? And so I started to get interested in nutrition. And I was thinking, you know what? If I can find this information, maybe it can help me. I can do something. And so I got really educated about nutrition. And then I got into meditation. And I was somebody who was like, I don't do that. That is not something I do. But I did do that. And it helped me. And I started to get better. And by the time I turned 50, I was as healthy as I had ever been. And I felt like, oh, great, I've arrived. Like I figured out the formula. Oh, no, no. And then all of a sudden, one day I woke up and I couldn't move my shoulder. This is referred to as the 50-year-old shoulder of perimenopause. Has anybody had anything like that before? Where's my water? Excuse me, Dayton, I'm going to just grab this behind you. Thank you so much. Has anybody had anything like that? Who has it? Oh, yes, you do. And I was having aches and pains and joint pain. And I just thought, am I going crazy? Like, I really thought I was because there was no explanation. And then somebody introduced me to the concept of the musculoskeletal syndrome of menopause. Has anybody ever heard of this phrase before? Yes, you have. This was introduced to me. The woman who coined the phrase is Dr. Vonda Wright. She's an orthopedic surgeon and a menopause specialist. And she talked about arthralgia as just sort of general, all over the place body aches. I remember I was at the Grand Geneva with my family. I was going to go play tennis. It was all I could do to get through the class because my hips were killing me. And I just didn't know what was going on. And then when I heard about this musculoskeletal syndrome and that it was due to the loss of estrogen, I was like, why hasn't anybody talked to me about this? Why didn't I know about this? Because if I had been on an estrogen patch, I wouldn't have had to deal with this blue agony suffering shoulder for 4 years. For 4 years. But here's the truth, our doctors are not educated, and we're going to talk about why. So I would say that the Hashimoto's actually was able to provide me with a foundation with the behaviors that I needed in order to be able to thrive. But when perimenopause hit, and it had been going on for a while unbeknownst to me, that's when I really started to want to get educated. And so that's how I got here. And it has just become my mission to be able to educate all of the women and the men, especially, because the level of upset in marriages and the level of divorce is skyrocketing, right? I see people shaking their heads. So, with all of that, what I'd like to do right now is just talk a little bit about some perimenopause and menopause facts. Did you know there are currently 1.2 billion women worldwide in perimenopause or menopause currently? And that number is expected to reach 1.6 billion by 2030. And did you know that only 1% of women's health research funding is dedicated to perimenopause and menopause? I'm sorry, that is unacceptable. Did you know that 91% of women experience menopausal symptoms like mood swings, fatigue, brain fog, and weight gain, right? Oh, this is rich. Did you know that there are 15 FDA approved testosterone products for men? Do you really? Yeah, right there. That's what I'm with you, sister. Guess how many there are? No, guess how many there are for women? Zero. Zero. Testosterone is critical for women's sexual health, brain function, and overall well-being, yet there are no FDA-approved testosterone supplements for women. Okay? Did you know that women experience a deterioration in their mental health when they go through perimenopause and menopause? Menopause is associated with a 2 to 4-fold increase in risk for clinical depression. I have lost count of the women who are coming into my office saying, I don't know what happened. I'm feeling so much more depressed, and my doctor just wants to up my medication. And did you know that for mood-induced depression during perimenopause, first-line treatment is a hormone replacement therapy? That is first-line treatment. All right. Did you know that cognitive behavioral therapy may improve sleep and vasomotor symptoms like hot flashes in some women? It also helps. I'm a cognitive behavioral therapist. That's just what I practice. And it's basically how our thoughts impact our feelings and our emotions, and how that impacts our behaviors, which impacts our experience, which impacts our thoughts, and around we go. But we can be proactive, and there are techniques that I'm going to talk about at the end of the presentation to help you stop that cycle. So let's start by talking about the subject of hormones and why it's so complicated to begin with. It all traces back to the Women's Health Initiative study done in 2002. Is anybody familiar with this study? No, not really? Just a little bit? Okay, so it's called the WHI study. It was done in 2002, and it was one of the largest studies ever done on hormone therapy. The early findings from the study were released to the public with one terrifying headline: hormone therapy causes breast cancer. Has anybody heard this from their physician? Yes. And they fully believe it, correct? Here's the problem. The data was misinterpreted and prematurely published. The women in the study were a lot older. They were like, the average age was 63. Average age of menopause is between 45 and 55. So not only were these women older, they were sicker. They were struggling with obesity, type 2 diabetes, all different kinds of ailments. And they also, in this study, used a different kind of hormone. They used synthetic hormones instead of body identical or bioidentical hormones. Those are very, very different. The reason they came up with the synthetic hormones is so they altered the hormone a little bit so that they could make a profit off of it. So body identical, you can't really make a whole lot of money off of that. It's because it's body identical. So it's what the body knows to be true, what it produces on its own. So the type of, like I said, the type of hormone used, the method of delivery was also not individualized. So but despite these limitations, they came out with this headline, and there was widespread panic. All these women flushed their hormones down the toilet, and then doctors were told absolutely under no circumstances are you to do this. However, it wasn't until years later that the WHI results were reevaluated and largely walked back. It was shown that for younger, healthier women, that hormone therapy is not only safe, but potentially protective for the brain, for the bones, and for the heart. And we call it a window of opportunity. For right now, we're saying within 10 years, but there's more and more evidence coming to light that it's possible even for older women to take these hormones as well. So like I said, by that time, the damage had been done, and doctors were not educated. So there's been a whole generation of women who have gone without these hormones, and they are sicker, type 2 diabetes, all kinds of inflammatory diseases such as autoimmune disease. And it's not necessary. It hasn't been necessary. And that's why I wanted to do this presentation, to educate you. So let's talk about understanding the impact of hormone loss and inflammation. So hormones affect every single cell in our body, every single organ in our body, our hearts, our livers, everything. When we experience a loss of hormones due to aging, the consequence is inflammation in the body. And everything right now is like, gotta fight inflammation, right? So let's talk about the inflammation connection, how hormone loss fuels the fire. So as estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone decline because of perimenopause and menopause, our immune system shifts in response. One of those key players is called the macrophage. Has anybody ever heard of what a macrophage is? Yes. Okay. So it's a type of immune cell that normally acts as an anti-inflammatory agent in the body. But with the loss of these hormones, it turns pro-inflammatory. So as we lose estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, that's one of the reasons those macrophages turn on us and create more inflammation in the body. They create what's called cytokines. You ever heard of a cytokine storm? That was big in COVID. That's partly what is going on and what is happening. So the rising tide of inflammation doesn't just lead to the aches and pains of the body. It also increases the risk of cognitive symptoms like ADHD. I've also lost count. Oh my God, I'm seeing shaking heads. I've lost count of the number of women who are like, I used to have my shit together. I do not know what happened to me. This isn't me. I wasn't like this before, right? So not only that, So it's joint and muscle pain. It also alters the delicate tissues of the bladder and the vagina, contributing to the genitourinary syndrome of menopause, or GSM, which we're going to talk a little bit about. That's why embracing an anti-inflammatory lifestyle is so essential for a robust health span. You know, we're not just looking to live longer, because too many women are ending up incontinent and demented in, these homes. And that does not have to be us. And that's, again, another reason why I want to share this information. So let's talk about what the hormones are, what they do to the body, and how they impact us. So does everybody know estrogen is an anti-inflammatory hormone? Is everybody clear about that? Well, so for instance, in the body, estrogen supports bone density, joint flexibility, heart health, and skin elasticity, while also playing a role in the vaginal and urinary function. So it's global. In the mind, it enhances memory, focus, and cognitive clarity by boosting key neurotransmitters like serotonin and acetylcholine and protecting the brain from inflammation. And then finally, emotionally, estrogen helps stabilize your mood. It's like, this is your feel good hormone. This is why we're like happy and we can connect to our joy, right? So, has anybody ever heard of Dr. Lisa Mosconi? She is a neuroscientist, she's a researcher, and she did a study last summer, the first of its kind, to identify the estrogen receptors in the brain. And the thinking was, oh, well, we probably don't need those receptors because we're going through menopause. So why do we need these receptors? So she was able to target these receptors. And what they actually found was that there was an increase in the number of receptors in the brain. And, and what happened when they saw how dense those receptors were, it correlated with brain fog and brain issues. So she's working right now with Maria Shriver. Maria Shriver's mom, Eunice, died of Alzheimer's disease. So she's working with her and receiving funding so that they can do this research and see what is the connection between Alzheimer's and brain-based issues and the loss of estrogen. And did you know it's more prevalent in women, Alzheimer's, than men? So this is, again, talking about estrogen. And by the way, did you know that when you go through menopause, you don't ever really stop? That's a misnomer. You don't ever stop menopause any more than you stop your heart health or your brain health or your bone health. But men end up having more estrogen in their bodies than women do when they have reached a flat line with menopause. So how about that? So let's talk a little bit about progesterone. Is everybody familiar with progesterone? That feel good, I'm calm, I can sleep. Di, I know you're taking it and you're like, I can sleep, it's wonderful. It balances the effects of estrogen as well to maintain hormonal harmony. And in the mind, it acts as on GABA receptors to calm the nervous system, protect brain cells from overstimulation, and support deep restorative sleep. And then what does it do for us emotionally? Progesterone promotes relaxation. And it's like, it's that feeling. How many women, when going through perimenopause, have noticed an increase in anxiety? Anybody? Yes, big hands. That is because when you lose progesterone, you're losing that anti-inflammatory support system, right? And when you think about progesterone as well, when progesterone drops, cortisol goes up. So your stress hormone goes up, and then what happens? More inflammation, right? Which is what we're trying to get away from. So let's briefly talk about testosterone. So in the body, testosterone supports lean muscle strength, energy, and it supports libido. Anybody's libido tanking in perimenopause, like big time? Yeah. And it helps you feel strong and confident, right? And in the mind, it boosts your motivation. You're like, ooh, I can go out there and I can do the things, and I'm excited to do the things. But when you don't have it, guess what happens? You become a little bit flat. You become like, I don't know, I don't really care about the things that I used to care about, right? So what I wish I knew. This is one of the reasons why I really wanted. You're like, okay, I don't know. I don't really feel like it. I'll talk to you later. So this is what I wish I knew before going into perimenopause. I mentioned before the musculoskeletal syndrome of menopause. Say that 3 times fast. It's like a mouthful. So even after healing my thyroid, and feeling more emotionally balanced, my body was still sending me signals that I was not okay. And I did not know what was happening to me. I felt like, I remember one day, has anybody ever heard of the grounding technique? Like you go outside and it's earthing. You walk on the ground and it's to help you get grounded. And I said to my husband, I think I'm just going to go outside and like lay on the ground. I did not know what was going on with me. I'm like, I hurt all over. This is making me crazy. So that's obviously from Dr. Vonda Wright, who coined that phrase, the musculoskeletal syndrome of menopause. When I found out that piece of information, that's when the fire was lit for me. I was like, oh, hell no. It is so unfair that I have had to suffer. And what about all the women? Because we're doing all the things for all the people. We are the hub, right? Yes, snaps to us, honestly. So, okay. So, what is the definition of the musculoskeletal syndrome? It refers to joint pain, muscle loss, stiffness, and increased risk of injury that many women experience as estrogen and testosterone decline. I love to work out. I love to dance. It's one of my favorite things. And I kept getting injured. And I was like, what is happening? I don't understand what's going on. Well, obviously now I do, right? These hormones are essential for maintaining bone density, joint integrity, muscle mass, tendon elasticity, and regulating inflammation throughout the body, right? So without them, our connective tissue becomes drier and less resilient, right? And our neuromuscular coordination can decline, making even those simple movements more prone to pain. Um, yeah, I have to say, this was the one that really hit me the most and really lit my fire to try to find out more about this. So another thing that I wish I knew about perimenopause. Has anybody ever heard the genitourinary syndrome of menopause, GSM symptoms? This is the quiet symptoms that nobody talks about. This is like the embarrassment that comes with this part of perimenopause. So this is a medical term for a collection of symptoms that affect all the vaginal region, the vulva, the vagina, the bladder, the urinary system, due to declines in estrogen, right? So what are the symptoms? Vaginal dryness, irritation, or burning, pain or discomfort with sex. Yeah, I was like to my husband, I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing it anymore. I don't care. No. And I had no idea that there was actually an answer. Increased urinary frequency or urgency or recurring UTIs. Does anybody have more UTIs during this period? So you can think of estrogen as skincare for the vagina. It keeps everything lubricated. It keeps everything the way it needs to be. But it's also the skin of the urethra and the lining of the bladder, right? So as estrogen declines, we begin to lose tissue level support across the vulva, vagina, labia, clitoris, loss of collagen, blood vessels, nerve endings, and sensation. So all of this happens, and also loss of tone and moisture. And so what's the result? Increase in urinary frequency and urgency, and susceptibility to UTIs. And here's the important part. If you're not experiencing symptoms right now, it's likely that you will, because this only worsens with age. It does not improve. It does not get better. And so what do we do about it? Well, when I heard about this, I was like, thank the Lord. Let me get there. All right. Oh, this is the other thing I wanted to say. This UTIs account for why so many older women end up in the emergency room. And what happens is that, unbeknownst to them, if you have a UTI and you're elderly, it can cause dementia-like symptoms. So I had a woman who told me that her friend's mom was going for a walk in her neighborhood, just like she always had, and she couldn't find her way home. And unbeknownst to her, she had a UTI. And it's like every woman over the age of 60 should be on vaginal estrogen. And doctors who are menopause experts will give you this on rotation. You don't have to beg them to get this prescription. So vaginal estrogen, it's not just a treatment, it's a form of long-term care for a body part that's ignored. But I'll also say a lot of women are just really embarrassed to talk about this. You know, they don't understand what's happening to them. I have a client of mine who has, she basically urinated on herself because she was having these kinds of issues and she didn't know anything about this. Okay. So, what is the good news? The good news is that you can have a vaginal insert. So, the one that I have, I do twice a week. First, when you use it, it's like a little, it's like a little insert, but it can come in a cream. There's a vaginal ring. There's different modes that you can, or different modes of delivery, I should say. So, you use it every day for 7 days for a week. And then after that, you just use it twice a week. And then that whole area is maintained. All right, so let's talk about hormone decline and the neurotransmitters that become disrupted, dopamine, serotonin, and melatonin. So what I didn't realize was that when you lose estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone, there's a downstream effect on your neurotransmitters. So the three that we're going to talk about briefly are serotonin, dopamine, and melatonin. So what does dopamine do? Dopamine is the drive and focus neurotransmitter. Dopamine supports motivation, focus, task initiation. It really helps us stay emotionally engaged and sharp, right? And then serotonin is the stability and safety neurotransmitter. Serotonin helps regulate mood and sleep and digestion as well as pain, creating sort of a sense of calm and connection, right? So when estrogen and progesterone decline, serotonin levels can come down as well. What does this lead to? Anxiety. And that's why I see all these women coming in saying, I'm so anxious. I never used to feel this way. But it's not a character flaw, it's just chemistry. Okay. And then melatonin, that governs our sleep and wake cycle, right? So it signals when it's time to rest, but hormonal imbalances and cortisol spikes can disrupt its production. And what does this lead to? Fragmented sleep. Anybody waking up with hot flashes at like 2 or 3 in the morning? Yeah, you raised your hand over there. Oh, it's 3 a.m. like clockwork? Is that like clockwork? Yeah, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what to do about that because there's definitely things you can do. So obviously this puts you in not a great space if you don't have enough sleep. And then if your mood is disrupted, and then if you're not being intimate with your partner. I mean, all of these things come together, but nobody is talking about them. So this is why I wanted to have this conversation. So let's talk about the science-backed strategies for hormonal balance and like, what do we do about all this? So first things first, you can go to a menopause expert. What I recommend you do is go to the menopauseSociety.org and then put in your zip code and it'll come up with all of these menopause experts in your area. And you can discuss with them what is right for you. Hormone replacement therapy may not be right for everyone. If for women who have a history of breast cancer, there could be complications and there are other avenues that we can treat them with. But so for me personally, I'm on an estrogen patch. I'll tell you that I started on an estrogen cream and my levels were too low. Like I just wasn't feeling well. So I switched over to a patch. This was also responsible for my frozen shoulder that I just woke up one day with. Um, and so now I'm on the patch, I'm on the Mac Daddy, I'm on like the 0.1 or the 1.0. And it took about 3 months, but after 3 months, I really noticed a difference in my joints and my hips, and things weren't cracking as much as they were before. So that's going to help restore balance, ease symptoms, and support long-term health. I always say you will have to pry my estrogen patch out of my cold, dead hands. I am never giving that up. All right. I'm also on a progesterone pill. Now, progesterone is the body identical. It's micronized progesterone. It comes in a pill, and I think they make it with a little bit of olive oil. And that was such a game changer for sleep. And then I also noticed that my emotional bandwidth like got bigger, and my frustration tolerance became better. So that progesterone supplement has been key. This is what we talk about when women come in and they say, oh, my doctor just wants to increase my meds. I say, you know what? Go to a menopause specialist first and get evaluated and see if this is right for you. And you can always up your medication later or go on medication. So it gives you options. And then progesterone, estrogen, and then testosterone. I'm also on a testosterone cream. I have to be a little careful with that because it makes me break out sometimes. So I can't take it every day. Everybody is different. I have it in a little bit of a like a syringe, a little cream. But there are different modes of deliveries for all of these hormones, and you would want to talk with your doctor to talk about what's best for you. Okay. And my understanding is that they don't look at blood levels, they look more at symptoms that you're having to determine what is best for you, because our our levels spike and go up and down. That is the hallmark of perimenopause, really, until we flatline. Um, okay, so let's go ahead and talk about nutrition and lifestyle and how these were the ingredients and part of my formula for success. So, as I said before, with the Hashimoto's, nutrition was the first place I looked. I became very interested in plant-based eating. When I looked at, I also became interested in food combining. Does anybody know what that's about? There's a company called Food Fuels here locally in Chicago, and it's all about keeping your foods and eating them in proper combination. So fruits you keep separately, proteins and fats you'd put together, and then starchy carbs and leafy greens you'd put together. But I just became interested in that because when you combine proteins and complex carbohydrates, which is the standard American diet, you get inflammation in your system and it slows down digestion. The longer food sits in your gut, the more inflammation you're going to get. So, the food combining, when I talk about what are my secrets to and my personal formula, the food combining is a really big one. Um, and I had already had information about nutrition, so I'd already had that put together. Um, and so I had an experience where I had all the nutrition. I started doing the food combining, and nothing was moving the scale before this. And when I tell you nothing, I really mean it. And I tried everything under the sun. So I started with a plant based approach and I combined it with the food combining. And the first day, I lost a pound. And then the second day, I lost another pound. And then by day 3, I lost a half pound. I was like, what is this? What kind of sorcery is this? Like, I couldn't believe that I actually had found something that finally worked for me. Um, and so it took me about 4 months and I lost that 21 pounds and I've kept it off within about 4 pounds since then. And that was in 2018. So I guess it's been for the last 7 years. And that's how I live my life right now. So it was the healing of the Hashimoto's, the dialing down of that inflammation. And then, oh, we're getting rain, I think. Um, and then it was the food combining for me. One thing I'm going to tell you that I think is crucial that nobody is talking about is the need for cleansing. People talk about doing different kinds of cleanses. And there are great cleanses in this book called Liver Rescue by Anthony William. He's on your resources list that I've included from the QR code. But that information was actually very crucial to my recovery. So I just feel like we are being inundated with toxins like we never have before. We were not designed to be inundated in this way. Like when you get gas from your gas tank, those gas fumes, perfumes, those Glade plugins are a nightmare. Just awful. They like coat the inside of your lungs. Um, I have copper pipes in my house. So talking about heavy metals, huge. Did anybody here eat fish or sushi? Okay, loaded with mercury. And I'm not telling you, look, I still eat fish, but I'm going to be regimented about it. I'm not going to do it likely every single day. There's cadmium in chocolate. I am not going to stop eating chocolate. I don't care what anybody says. But the idea is it's like a car. If you go to get your car serviced and you do it once, are you done with that car being serviced forever? No, of course not. You're going to use it, so you're going to continue to get it serviced. And that's what cleansing does for the body. So I like to talk about a morning cleanse that I do on the daily. And I feel like this has been an instrumental part in my managing the perimenopause and the menopause journey. The first thing I do is a 32 ounces of filtered water and the juice of an organic half a lemon. It's basically, you talked about waking up at 3 a.m. The liver wakes up around that time and it starts to cleanse, or it starts to collect toxins in the body. It can go into a subtle spasm, and that's what wakes people up at 3 a.m. like clockwork. So if you think about it, when you wake up and the first thing you do is you drink that lemon water, it's almost like you're giving the liver an internal shower. And so much goes on with the liver metabolically with regard to perimenopause and menopause. So that's the first thing that I do. I then will go ahead and wait 30 minutes, and then I'll start with, I started with 2 ounces of plain, fresh, organic celery juice. That is amazing for the liver. It cleanses the body. It kills viruses and pathogens and bacteria. And it's if you have any problems with constipation, you will not have any problems with that anymore. So my suggestion is to work up to 16 ounces slowly. Do it over time. Only do it in 2 ounce increments. I did a presentation at the where is it? The Sunset Foods in Lake Forest. And I did it on celery juice, and they now have celery juice. So you can buy it there. And the way I do it is, if you're just starting out, I would buy it and then pour it into an ice cube tray, stick it in the freezer, and then pop out 2 at night. It'll melt overnight. Make your lemon water at night. You'll have both of those 2 things done and ready to go first thing in the morning. And then the final thing, and this is what helps remove heavy metals from the body, is called the heavy metal detox smoothie. And it's got 5 ingredients. It's wild blueberries, organic cilantro, Hawaiian spirulina, barley grass juice extract powder, and Atlantic dulse. And I've included the recipe and where to get it in the resources list, so don't worry about it. That's okay, sweetie pie. This is a marathon right now at this point. So no, don't worry about that. No, it's in there. There's a description in there. It tells you exactly what to do. And then if you have any questions, just reach out. You can always call me. That's totally fine. And then I do recommend some supplementation. I like us to get our nutrition from our food. I think that's the most important place to get it from. But we need some things to sort of fill in the gaps. And the first thing that I really love to talk about is magnesium. I like the magnesium threonate. It crosses the blood-brain barrier and is most readily absorbed into the system. So at nighttime, I will take my micronized progesterone. I will go ahead and I will take, what did I just say?
Magnesium.
Thank you. Oh, thank you, perimenopause and menopause. It's like I've lost track of what I was saying. Yeah, I take that magnesium, and then I'll also take a melatonin supplement, and I really do sleep like a baby. B vitamins, especially B12. I like the B12 to have adenosylcobalamin and methylcobalamin, 2 ingredients. That's also on your resources list. I took a picture for you guys. Vitamin D, vitamin D with K2, essential. Us, we live in the Midwest. It's like we get like no sun, right? So that is like every single day, vitamin D. And then one of the ingredients in the heavy metal detox smoothie, spirulina, massive, amazing plant-based protein. So when people are like, oh, where do you get your protein from? I'm like, I do get it from spirulina. It's not the only thing I have, but it's so wonderful. In fact, I think it's an algae, and I think they use that at chemical water treatment plants to clean the water, if you can believe it. Yeah, because it's so, like, it just gets rid of bacteria. Okay, physically, we have to do resistance training. I was such a cardio queen. I loved the step. I was a step aerobics queen. I absolutely loved it. Now, it's great. It's great for cardio, but because we lose muscle mass as we go through perimenopause and menopause, we have to be physically building that up. One of the best ways that I like is called P-Volve. Is anybody familiar with P-Volve here? You're familiar with it?
I know. I've never done it.
You've never done it, but you're familiar with it. So Jennifer Aniston supports it, and it is designed for women in midlife to help build muscle mass and support your bones. It's very slow, intentional movement. They have these like little slides that you put on your feet. They're like death. I'm just saying. And then they have these bands where you just feel like you want to die when you're doing it. But it does wonders for creating the muscle that we need for not just our lifespan, but for our health span. We want that to be robust. So I've talked a lot about like the physical stuff. I'm just going to mention the emotional stuff, the mind body connection. So let's talk just for a second about, has anybody ever heard of Dr. Mary Claire Haber? She's like the menopause queen. She wrote the book, The New Menopause. She has, I don't know if she has, does she have a podcast? There's so many people, but she's like, she's on Instagram all the time. She's just been named Time Magazine's one of their most influential people, I think, something along those lines. But anyway, she coined the term zone of chaos. Has anybody ever heard of this? Yeah. Well, for those of you who haven't, it's for women who are going through perimenopause. The brain really loves regularity. So with your cycle, you were very regular and the brain was very happy. But when we go into perimenopause, our ovaries start to shut down. And this is very much a brain-based issue. It doesn't just include our ovaries, because when the ovaries start to fail, the brain goes, wait, what are you doing? You got to produce. So our FSH levels and our LH levels spike. They go all the way through the roof, helping estrogen to go up. But then our bodies can't maintain it because we're losing function, and then it drops out. And it goes up and it goes down and it goes up and it goes down. And this is what she referred to as the zone of chaos. And it's the part of us that thinks we are going crazy. The part of us that's like, I cannot stand one more thing. The part of us that's like, it is just too much for me to like load the dishwasher. Like, I just can't do it. So, and it's exhausting. And there are so many marriages that are failing because of this. Because the women, what the doctors don't know, they haven't been trained, right? They were all told breast cancer, whatever. And our partners, they don't know what's going on. So when I look back at my life, I'm like, oh, that's what that was. So this is the zone of chaos, right? So how do we deal with this? Well, one of the things that I teach is cognitive behavioral therapy. Has anybody ever heard of that? Right? So what does it focus on? It's an evidence-based approach that helps us change the way we think so we can change the way that we feel and ultimately the way that we behave. And it's a tool that I use in my practice anyway all the time. So what does it teach us to do? Observe our thoughts, right? Instead of being ruled by them. Interrupt negative loops. You know how you can get caught in a negative loop when you're thinking about something or you're upset or overwhelmed? It helps us to be able to reframe the situation. And then it helps build mental flexibility, and it makes us less brittle and more buoyant during those times. It's almost like a muscle that you exercise, but it's an emotional muscle. So one of the things that I combine this with is the concept of emotional leverage. I talk a lot about with cognitive behavioral therapy in terms of how we're thinking. Let's be proactive in what we are thinking. Let's think on purpose, the thoughts that are going to help support us. So my personal feeling is when we bring the body on board and get balanced with our hormones, then we increase our emotional bandwidth to be able to like have a little bit more patience or question ourselves and be like, wait a minute, before I respond, maybe I should think about it from this perspective, right? So emotional leverage, this is where I want you to take your Chinese finger traps. I'm going to talk just for a second because there's this concept of contraction and expansion. So there's an emotional version of contraction. What happens is that when we go into fight, flight, or freeze, is everybody familiar with that term? It's very much a biochemical thing. We shift from the prefrontal cortex, this part of our brain, to reptilian brain, where we only see things in black and white. And we shut down because we're not supposed to be wide open. So when a friend of mine was choking, I didn't remember like locating the phone or dialing 911 or having a conversation. My husband gave her the Heimlich and she was fine, but it happened in seconds. And I wasn't supposed to think about, well, what are my options? So it can serve us, right? But it can also be very harmful in the sense of when we're in a negative emotional state, we're not available for the answers and the ideas, the inspiration, the information that's going to help us get from point A to point B. And so the secondary aspect of this is expansion. And when I talk about expansion, that's feeling good, being in this part of the brain, frontal cortex that, understands sequential reasoning and creative problem solving and all the ideas and the excitement that you have. When you're in a state of expansion, it's like having both of your arms and your hands open, saying, I am available for the ideas and the inspiration and the answers to come. So I like the Chinese finger trap. Go ahead and put your fingers in there and pull on it. And unless they're super weak, you're going to stay a little stuck in there. So I use this finger trap as a metaphor when we're stuck for resistance. So when we're resisting what is, we're kind of stuck. We're kind of held hostage. So does anybody know how to get out of this? You push in, you lean in, and then you get free. And I use that as a metaphor for acceptance. Now, people have a little bit of a hard time with that word because they think, oh my God, acceptance, I need to accept what is and nothing's ever going to change. No, it's just a point where you launch from so that you can, it's almost like it's the ground beneath you, your ability to walk forward. You need that ground beneath you. You need to be able to accept where you are. Acceptance does not equate acquiescence. It just is a place to start. So that's why I like having this little reminder when I'm really struggling and having a hard time to help me out. And my hope is that it will help you out too. So that's what I like to call emotional leverage. All right. So one other part of my formula for success was discovering meditation. I was one of those people who was like, I'm not doing that. I couldn't sit still anyway. But then you know what? I just gave it a try. And does anybody in here meditate? Yeah, only one? Has anybody ever tried two? Okay, three kind of tried. So, okay, one trick that helped me was to, instead of thinking I need to silence my thoughts, instead, I listen to a sound that's not that interesting. It's like a low humming sound, sort of like a dryer. You know how a dryer will emit like a low hum? The idea, so I listen to it on YouTube and I'll do that for about 15 minutes and my thoughts will wander and then I'll just come back. And the idea, what we're trying to get to is, when you're driving a car and it's a familiar route and you kind of go away a little bit, you get kind of like super comfortable and not like you couldn't swerve out of the way if somebody like ran in front of you, but it's like that sort of detached place. That's what we're going for. That is a conduit for expansion. That is when we receive information. I don't know how spiritual you all are. I am. And I find that the more I choose to meditate, the better my day goes. The more accessible information that I need is available to me. So I do recommend meditation. As a second part of that, I also incorporate a practice of appreciation. So you guys have heard of a gratitude practice? It's a little bit more in depth than that. Instead of just saying, I'm grateful for my house and I'm grateful for my car, I try to answer the question, but why? Why am I grateful? I'm grateful to be in a room that is warm and dry out of the rain. I am grateful for my roof that protects my house. I am grateful for the toilet that works. Like, you could find anything. And the more you do that, the more things will come up for you to be grateful for. Now you're raising your vibe. Now you're going into that state of expansion where here's where all the answers live. That's where you want to go. So you're basically priming the, what's the word I'm looking for? Here it is again. What is it? Pump? Thank you. Priming the pump. Oh my God. All right. Yes. Let's prime the pump, shall we? Okay. Finally, I just want to talk about creativity as another technique that I use. So I had a red letter day last Thursday. Our social media manager is quitting. We've worked with her for 10 months. I was pretty upset about this. And so in the middle of that, we were getting a mattress delivered. My husband's been having back problems. We finally got this mattress. I was like, oh, thank God. And the guy walks in, he goes, yeah, you don't have a California king. You have a king. So we had to refuse it. And I wanted to cry. It was awful. Again, not the worst thing. It was just the context. Then I had a PT appointment and I'm in my car and I got to a train stop. There was no train. There were just cars for miles. And I was 15 minutes late to my, my appointment. And I was like, all right, I got to do something to turn this around. And so I went ahead and I created a reel that my lovely friend Dayton helped me create. She walked me through it. It was so wonderful. That's okay. I'll see you next time. Thank you for coming. Thank you. So Dayton, she gave me this instruction. She gave me a script, and she's like, just do one line at a time, and then I'll use CapCut, and I'll put it all together for you, and I'll create a reel. And I was like, fine, I'm going to do this creative thing I don't feel like doing, but I did it, and I was so happy and proud of myself.
Great.
Oh my God, thank you so much. Oh my God, so much support. I love it. Thank you so much. But it's the act of doing something creative. And I'll tell you something. So I needed to buy a new car. So there was a crack in my chassis, apparently a bad thing. So I was a little stressed out about it. But we did find my car, which I'm very, very thrilled about. But I had to sell my old one. And I'm like, how am I going to sell it? Like, this is not my area. And then somebody suggested CarMax. And so later that day, I called my husband. I'm like, I'm taking the car to CarMax and we're going to see what they give us. And he goes, I don't know that I have time and we got this and I only have an hour. I'm like, no, we're doing it. And so I had a number in my mind that I wanted and I walked in there and wouldn't you know, they gave me the exact number that I wanted. And my husband was able to come in. He had an hour. He signed the paper. We drove home. No, we drove to the office. He did his session. I shopped for us. It went like clockwork. And that, I think, is because I did that reel. Aww. Because I'm serious, because I chose to do something creative. It could be making your bed or making your dinner or taking a bath. It doesn't matter what it is. As long as it involves creativity, I mean, you're creating new cells in your body every single second of every single day. And does anybody ever worry if you get a scratch, like, oh my God, I hope my red blood cells coagulate and I don't bleed out? Does anybody ever worry about that? No, of course not, because your body holds a wisdom. It physically, it holds this wisdom. It knits itself together, right? You're not going to grab a pile of dirt and rub it on a scratch and hope that it heals well. No, you're going to clean it out. You're going to put some Neosporin, slap a Band-Aid on it, and then you're going to trust that your body will do its process. That is also true on an emotional level. We have that psychological, emotional matrix within us that knows what to do, that knows how to heal, but it involves knowing what to give ourselves so that we can, right? So, in conclusion, it's time to reframe menopause and perimenopause. It is time to have this information, and we've just scratched the surface. But what my hope and prayer is that you've taken this with you. You only do one thing. If you only do just one thing, gauge how you feel, and then build on it, you are going to create a foundation, and it is going to change your life. And I am living proof of that, because I did not feel well for most of my life until I turned 50. So don't think for 1 second that it's over. It is truly the beginning. Menopause is time to take a pause. And that's what this was tonight. So I hope you enjoyed the information. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. So with the QR code, there's a whole list of resources. And if you swipe to the left, you're going to see all the books that I've recommended. There's 3 graphs on there from Dr. Louise Newsom. It's all about estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. And it's a graphic, and it tells you what happens with estrogen, like how it impacts the body and what it does. So I really wanted you to have those graphics. There's also within there access to my autoimmune renewal program, which shows a before and after picture of me. So you can check that out. And then if you could please go to the survey within that part of your phone and fill out a survey, please, for me before you leave. It'll literally take you 2 minutes, and it's super helpful for me going forward with knowing what to talk about and what to let go. Thank you. Thank you. Can I answer any questions? I mean, do you guys, like, when you think about your own experience, do you guys have any questions or symptoms that are coming up? Or yes, ma'am. Do you want to keep it? Oh, Sorry, can you go next to her?
Sorry.
She's gonna come up next to you so we can hear what you have to
Oh,
say.
I have this
okay.
little.
Yes, ma'am.
When you started wearing the estrogen patch, where do you wear it and how long did it take to start working?
Okay, so I wear it on my bikini line, just beneath my bikini line. And that, so I do a patch twice a week. So I do it on Mondays and Thursdays. And it took about 3 months. It really was not overnight. In fact, I kind of had an expectation like, okay, the estrogen's in there. Where's my happy place? It took about 3 months. But at 3 months, I was like, oh, huh, I don't feel like I'm injured every time I dance now. Okay, that's way, way better. And I just felt better. And if you think about it, serotonin and all of those neurotransmitters, it's in our gut, right? It's 95% of our serotonin receptors are in our gut, and estrogen has a huge impact on that. So if I were you, I would talk to a menopause expert. The creams didn't really work for me. I was very still low, and that's every woman is as unique as a fingerprint, really. So you don't know what it's going to be for you, what's going to be effective. But I would absolutely look into the patch. It's just so easy.
Did you start on the same dose that you're on today?
I will say that I did because I had been doing the cream and it wasn't doing anything for me. And so my doctor just gave me the Mac Daddy patch. I do. I call it the Mac Daddy because it's like it's kind of big. It's not huge, but it's like this big. Yeah, you're like, oh my God, can you mainline it right here? Can we do that? Oh, legit. I would do it. I mean, if I was ready to dance naked in the blood of a chicken under a full moon to feel better. I was like, what can I do? Please tell me. I will do it.
Right now, I just want to be on a Xanax.
Oh, well, you know what? I understand.
Chill me out.
I understand because you are so wound and there's no separation between the mind and the body. So you're going to feel it. So like while I was preparing for this presentation, this whole left side of my body was like, it's what happens. So knowing, oh, you know what, there's some interventions, there's things that we can do to help ourselves out. Do your doctors all know this information? Does anybody?
No, I think I told you that earlier. Like it was like, here, please go on birth control. And she put me on the ring, which after I was on it for like 8 months, it didn't help anything. And then I read that one of the worst birth controls that you can be on when you're 45 years old is the ring. It has like higher something. It's just not.
It's a higher risk of stroke.
Yes.
Because it's synthetic.
Yeah.
And that's why we like the patch, because it bypasses the liver, goes directly into the bloodstream, and then it's a lesser risk of heart attack and stroke and cardiovascular issues in general.
Why am I on this? So then I went off of it.
Off
the birth control, and that was maybe 2 months ago. So now my body's trying to process like I remember being in my 20s and 30s and being on birth control, and it always is like a whole. You get on it, and it takes a couple months for your body to get used to it, and then you get off of it. And so I'm like all over the place.
Well, I'll tell you.
It's like, what is happening? What are you doing or not doing?
Yes. I was given way back when it was the Hashimoto's that I was dealing with. They gave me birth control pills and testosterone supplements. And I immediately busted out in cystic acne so badly. I mean, it was absolutely horrible. My skin, it was just a complete nightmare. So that's why I really like the cleansing on that daily basis. It's like the stuff that is coming in at you, you have an ability to release and let go. And I like the term or the visual of bricks in the backpack. So this is like you're taking bricks out of the backpack. It's going to make your experience really different. If you have a 5-pound backpack as opposed to a 25-pound backpack. That's what it felt like when I had 21 pounds on me. It felt like that. And it felt different afterwards. So this is the time. Oh, I will say there was an article that came out, NPR, and apparently there are bills in place right now that if a physician's office is more than 25% female, they are being mandated by the legislation to get educated about perimenopause and menopause, which is awesome. But like, really, we have to legislate people to make this happen. Like, come on. So this is my purpose, was like, I want to create a community where we can help support each other, and like, let's start getting loud, and let's start demanding more from the physicians that are treating us. And if you're not getting answers, go to the menopaussociety.org, put in your zip code, and you will find they will come up and you will get help. In fact, I am looking for an OB-GYN that values the mental and emotional aspects.
There's one.
Please, Simona, tell me.
The gyno girl.
Oh, Samina.
Yes.
She's wonderful, but she's in the city. I'm looking for somebody who's closer, but I love Samina.
She does all of that.
Yes, yes, she's so wonderful. I am looking for somebody that's more local. So if anybody finds anybody, I'm still on the lookout for that. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Can I make a suggestion about meditation? I've meditated on and off for years, and it can feel a little, almost stressful because it's hard to kind of shut our minds down. But there's a lot of different ways to meditate that isn't necessarily just like sitting in quiet, trying to not think about anything. And they have these like meditation coloring books that I really like, and you get some colored pencils, because when you start coloring and you're focusing on keeping in the lines, that is meditation, because you're probably not thinking about anything else besides just like you're so focused on that. So I recommend like starting there, or listening to a meditation where somebody is talking to you. I have the Peloton, so I do a lot of the Peloton meditations, and I like it because there's at least somebody there that's kind of like bringing you back. It doesn't necessarily mean sit in silence. I think that's actually the hardest way to at least start meditating. So yeah, I recommend like
I'm so
coloring
glad.
books and getting some colored pencils, because it's very therapeutic.
I am so happy you said that. And I meant to say there are all different kinds of meditation. So I have a bird feeder in my backyard, and I'm always begging my kids and my husband to like fill it. But there's something soothing about watching the birds.
Yeah.
And it's almost like meditative, right? You could be riding a bike and out in nature. That could be meditative.
Watering my garden.
Oh,
like
yeah.
that to
Or
me,
gardening or picking
Yep,
weeds.
yep.
Same kind of thing. It's all about focus
Yeah.
and focusing on something rather than trying to focus on not doing something. I think it's far easier to lean in and do something than to try to stop doing something. Yes, ma'am.
I also wonder what you would think about, like, I know for me, I try to be off my phone like an hour before I go to bed. So I started doing crossword puzzles, which was like, because I want to do like a game or something fun before I go to bed, but I'm trying to not be on my phone. But like what you were talking about with sleep, is that also like the blue light from your phone, it throws off your circadian rhythm. So it could also be another reason, like if you're getting really bad sleep. I know for me, like when I stopped using my phone an hour before bed, I was getting really good sleep after that.
That's
not
really
waking up
so
much.
sleep hygiene, right?
Yeah.
Having sort of like a ritual, and the electronics go away.
Yeah.
And then it sort of allows your brain to like dial down. I think a lot of us doom scroll at night. I'm a little guilty of that one. It's like you're on all day so much that you just want to figure out what is the off switch. So I like letting go, Dayton, of the phone. I think that's super important.
Yeah, it was interesting too. So I go to like a holistic chiropractor. I love her.
Who do you go to?
I go to Dr. Mardoyan.
Oh, okay. I don't know him.
Out in Glenview.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, she's great. Changed my life actually. But she was telling me even that the energy from the phones or from like your TV, it expands out 8 feet. So she said, like, for me specifically, she was like, put your phone in a different room because it's like affecting your adrenals. And I was like, oh, interesting. Didn't know that.
Yeah.
What'd
Or
you say?
say that, buy a cactus. Is that what you just said, Debbie?
You don't realize that, like your phone shouldn't be like usually you sleep by your phone. That's
Yes,
normal, but you're
yes.
supposed to sleep opposite side of it.
Wow.
Anytime you have a
I'm going to be buying some cacti.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
They grow.
They just
do
absorb
their-
it.
Yeah, they do. That's why Arizona's the energy.
And that it is. And I feel so different when I'm there. Oh my goodness. That is fascinating.
Yeah,
Thank you for that information. I love that.
There's some cute cactuses too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Does anybody else have any suggestions or things that they've done, things that have worked that you want to share? Well, we know alcohol is probably not the best thing in the entire world, but that's why we cleanse. So it's like the counterbalance. So it's like, okay, fine, you're going to do that. What I got a DEXA scan. Does everybody know what a DEXA scan is? So it measures your bone density, and it's recommended that women get this as a baseline to find out where they are. And one of the reasons why I actually think mine is normal is because I've never had a cup of coffee.
You have one more picture
Like
subject
ever.
last
No.
time. It
Like
will
never.
be on sale.
Like ever. No, my husband's like, if you were on coffee, it would not be okay because I'm already kind of energetic. But that, and I think the impact of exercise, that's also been really helpful.
Just remember you
Yeah.
liked it last time.
Well, if you guys are full, I hope
I
this was
also
helpful. Thank
went
you
to
so much for coming out. I really appreciate every single one of you. Thank you.
I want the
Thank you. Oh, can you guys please fill out the survey before you go? Can you please? It'll literally take you 2 minutes.
Just got this today.
It's on the QR, and if you swipe,
Yeah.
you'll see it'll say. I think
She's talking
it'll
about
say
doing
take the
like
survey at the bottom on the
like a
second
whole
page.
health series here.
Oh, okay,
She's so
sweetheart.
fabulous.
Thank you
Look
so
at
much
this.
for coming.
She's
Yes, please.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
and
she's
me.
57.
Going out for a drink is what we're doing.
Right, yeah. You should look at the
Yes.
before and after
Where's your
picture.
question?
I'll do it here.
Oh, did you? Oh, you did?
I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner.
Oh, you
that where-
are?
where is
Oh,
it?
where do you
Hold on, there was a
work?
stand. Maybe
I
somebody's
have
taking a picture of it.
my own practice.
Do you really? Oh my God, I'd love to chat with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So you must know all about this
I
then.
see a lot of
See a
women.
lot of women. Well, I'm always looking to connect with practitioners that understand what's going on, you know. So yes, I would love to.
So we can
The
see
QR
you,
code I think is
yeah.
up here.
Are you going to be here for the sidewalk sale? Next weekend.